This is 4624. Let's talk about it. All right. Welcome to 4624. We're back for part two with our guest, Mr. Phillip Mobley, mentor, Pops, our Uncle Phil. So, welcome back to the show.
Yes,
All right.
welcome, Mr. Rob. We can't wait to hear more. I'm just sitting here, it's like a master class or something. Go ahead, brother.
So, Pops, I wanted to ask you, how hard is it if you're trying to help a child? It's not always welcomed by the parents. So sometimes you get resistance from the parents, even with us. I was in foster care with the Frasers, and I was having some difficulties with them. We had to treat that with kid gloves because you don't want to insult anybody. And even though all you're trying to do is help, sometimes while you're trying to help them, a lot of people, what I mean by people, parents, they don't like a bad light shed on them about how they're raising their kids. Right. A lot of people don't like that. How do you get around that? How do you have the energy to continue to do that, even when you feel like people are working against you when you're trying to do it? Because it's not the easiest thing to do. I know I said people just need to help kids if they see them hurt, but it's not easy. So, did you want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell. I have several war stories, and some of those are positive, and some of those didn't turn out as well. As you stated, you have to understand that parent and or that foster parent or whatever is part of that equation, and that what goes on in their house is sometimes folks are very concerned that they don't want that shared. So you have to work with that family to let them know that I'm here to help. I'm not here to be judgmental. I'm just here to provide whatever help I want. When I'm dealing with biological parents, though, it's even a step farther because I have to be able to tell biological parents, I am not trying to steal your child. I want to help your child, and whatever I can do to help your child, that's what I want to do. And what I found out in many cases, when we dealt with young men that was being raised in single parent homes, especially by women, there became a insecurity instantly, and you end up having to constantly work with that mother to let them know that I'm not his daddy. I don't want to be his daddy. Now, if he wants to feel that I'm his dad or he wants that relationship, that's fine. I'm not going to stop that. But I am not trying to take him away from you. And so, as long as you can work through that and make sure they understand that, and I would tell the kids before they come, you have to talk to your parents. You cannot just say you want to come to my house or do something without we're talking to your parents and get permission. So it's really honoring that parent, working within that parent's framework and guidelines, and many times calling that parent and say, you know what, we had discussion. So now the parent feel part of that, and they don't feel like they're out there alone. But when that child shares some things with you, and usually they will, there are certain parts of it that you know is confidential and you will not share it. And that's how I tell parents. They'll ask me, some parents have called me to ask me what their child said. And I said, I'm not going to share that with you in confidentiality, and I'm not going to break that. And there are some parents who've gotten ugly and others. So you just have to work with them. I found out, though, that if you develop that relationship with that child, though, and that real genuine relationship with that child, it will break down those barriers and those resistance that the parents put up. It'll break those barriers down because that child really needs that relationship. And like I told you one time, there was one situation where a judge saw that we had a more positive impact on the child than his grandmother. And the judge ended up ordering that child to stay with us. And the grandmother had a cow. She had a cow. She really went ballistic. And we didn't ask for that. I just went to the court with them. And it came out that the DCF person said when he's with Mr. Mobley, he acts okay when he's with his grandmama. That's when the trouble comes. And the judge said, I'll tell you what, for 6 weeks, we wanted to stay with Mr. Mobley. And that meant that she was going to lose her check for a month. And she got upset. And I had to say, wait a minute. We went home, and that next day she called. She was cussing me out. I said, ma'am, listen, this is your child. No, you come get him. And we call the judge and get that straight because I'm not going to do that. But those situations happen, and you just have to be able to, I'd say each situation you have to work on
Yeah.
That's a different situation.
A lot of people feel like because you go to foster care that you're safe. You're in foster
Yeah.
care, it's going to be good. He's in good hands. No, that's not always the case. I had a foster parent with several of them. They was in it for that money. They was in it for at the time. I think it was 450 a child or something. You could tell by how they treated us. They treated us good around the first of the month. By the middle of the month, we were trash. we were that we were just a hustle. They were just basically flipping kids.
Yeah.
It's just crazy when you're privy to a lot of information. You have to kind of treat everything with kid gloves because you don't want to blow it up. But it's important for you to develop trust and rapport with that kid because I remember going to my social worker and telling them about what was going on in my foster home. And they told my foster mom all she did was make it worse.
Make it
So
worse.
that's what I appreciate about you. I was able to talk to you and
Right.
never got back to Fraser or anybody. It was
Right.
confidential, just like you said. And you were trying to work on a solution to the problem. You weren't just
Right.
talking about the problem and telling everybody the business. It wasn't that. You were trying to see how you could help me get from point A to point B. So,
Yeah, because in your situation, I knew the foster parent, I knew her grandson that was there, and I knew some of the other foster kids that lived in that house. I kind of knew all of that was going on. But the part where I was not privy to at that point was the DCF, the social worker, the person that placed you where you were. I didn't know those people. Since then, I've learned that whole system. And so now I know how to navigate around all of that. But
Can you
yeah.
speak to that, Mr. Mobley, and the system and
yeah,
what type of things you learned or even doing
yeah,
to help correct? Because the 80s and now, two different times,
right.
but still some, I'm sure, systematic to be changed.
My journey with foster care is after my son died, his oldest son, we had custody of him, but we really didn't have custody of him because his mother just she didn't take time for him. So she just left him with us. And it was 18 months after my son had died when I had to take him to the emergency room for a cold. And I realized I couldn't because I didn't have a custody of him, a legal custody. And therefore, we got involved with the system to get custody. And as a result of that, I got to be connected with Family Support Services, which is the organization that manage all the kids that are in foster care. I actually became the board chair of Family Support Services in Jacksonville. So I learned the system, the DCF part of it, as well as the removal part, as well as the care part, and really saw what was underneath there and really tried from 2006 until now. I've really worked with the system to see how to improve not the removal part of it, but the care of the children, to making sure the children are safe. And when I left Duval County, moved to Columbia County, there's a sister organization called Partnership for Strong Families. We actually started working with them. They actually opened up a resource center that they wanted me to run, and I accepted the challenge of running this resource center. And the resource center, they found that the data shows that kids that are in care, no matter what situation they come out of, kids that age out in foster care, the high percentage of them end up in the criminal justice, juvenile justice system because of the trauma. And so what they were saying is better to keep a child in a home, their home, than to put them in foster care if possible. But you have to understand what's going on in that home and help try to rectify some of the issues where it will not get bad enough for that child to be removed. And so what we've done is we work with parents and families that DCF have indicated if we don't get the thing right, these kids are going to be removed. And so we try to go into those homes, work with those families one on one. Sometimes we give them food, we pay their light bills, we do all kinds of things. But the key is to get there, to develop that relationship with those families as well as with those children to be able to help them develop a more cohesive type of environment. One of the problems here in Columbia County is we have about 150 kids in care, and we only have 20 homes. What ended up happening, kids, when they're removed, they're sometimes taken out of the county. They're taken out of school, out of the county for a long ways from people that they know. And so that's double trauma. So we're trying to keep those kids from ever getting into the system. But it's work. It's work because there's a lot of issues that people have. And so I'm trying to work with them, moms and families to be able to figure out what's going on and keep them together.
And that's amazing that you're still doing that work. I
Yeah.
keep on saying that, but it's just amazing.
Because I
To
mean,
your
I'm
point,
I'm 72, about to be 73.
Wow.
And
I thought you said you was retiring, Pops.
yeah, right. I retired in 2008 from Florida Blue, and I tell people now I work 7 days a week, but I do it because I love it. And every day when I get up, it's not like I got to go into an office or I had to go and minister or something that way. It's just I enjoy what I'm doing.
And to your point too, Pops, even though you have the programs, the parents have to work with you. I'm talking about the
Right,
program that you're trying to keep them into the home. So I
right,
was talking to my sister and I was like, could you imagine if Pops Mobley was to come to our house on 4624 while your dad was there, or Pops was there, and Mom was there and was like, hey, we gotta, it would have been a problem on both sides.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
people feel like people just don't want to be checked on what's going on, even though they know what's going on.
right,
Once it hits the rest of the world that something is going on inside of the house, now there's eyes on the situation. Now you have
right,
to move different. Now I feel like somebody is monitoring my behavior and they just in my business. But
yeah,
sometimes people got to get in your business for you to change if your business is raggedy.
right. You
Now,
realize that the main thing that you're dealing with is trying to save those kids and trying to get those kids to grow up in a functional home as possible in a functional environment. So, how do you do that? How do you make that happen? But you're right. People don't want, we steer away from a lot of terms. Like, I will not tell people we're going to have a parenting class. People get upset if I say
Right.
I'm gonna have a parenting class. They'll say you're telling me how to parent. Yeah. So we deal with different topics. Like we have a discussion on next Tuesday of having difficult conversations with your child. It's still parenting classes, but it's just going at it a different way just to be able to help people see how to navigate.
And to that point, I was thinking about what my brother just said. I think back in those times, it didn't feel like it was from a help standpoint.
Right.
It felt like it was from an incriminating standpoint. So I
Yeah.
don't know where the programs were that would may have been more proxy, like standing on. I understand you may have come from this, and this is how y'all did things, but let me just talk to you about this because we're trying to keep families together. I think that was the missing link because it just seemed very either this or that back then. Oh,
Right.
you're not doing this, we'll pull you out. And yes, safety first.
Right.
But I also love what you're doing in the sense that it is coming in because one thing about it in our family, removal did not stop the trend.
Right.
If anything, I always tell my brother it just got a little bit warmer. It just got hotter because the problem still is there
Right.
in different forms. So
Right.
the families need something. And the question I was going to ask, so I'm very excited about the work for you. Like you started in 2006,
Right.
20
Yeah.
years ago, after starting in 80, doing this and then doing that. So this is incredible work anyway. But what I was going to ask you is, what kind of things are you telling families now? Maybe there's a family that doesn't have these type programs or someone who's listening, nobody ever tried to help me or whatever. What type of things are you telling families or sharing with families to speak to how to keep their kids there with them? What are you seeing and what are you saying?
I think again, it is really looking at the kids, looking at the family dynamics. Some of the issues, I'm just thinking about one that I'm dealing with now, and it's a church situation as well as a center where the kids are with their grandparents, and the kids are, it's too much of their grandparents. The kids are having a hard time, the grandparents have a hard time And what we ended up encouraging them to do this summer is to take a respite. The parents, they ended up having the kids to go stay with the moms in prison. So we worked with the aunts, the grandparents took a respite, and the kids went with the aunts for the summer. Now, what we are doing is the grandparents have the kids come here for homework help. So I help them with the homework, but it's also working with them on some behavioral issues and telling grandmama, here's what you have to do and how you have to discipline them. There are some kids that actually have some mental issues or behavior issues that they need some additional help. And what we do is try to connect the families with those agencies. The great thing I have is I'm connected with about 40 different agencies from different aspects of life, and we're able to connect them with those agencies. Those agencies, there are some agencies that teach parents how to discipline without necessarily using the physical discipline, and we're getting those parents connected with them. And then there's some families, some adults that need mental health counseling, and we're trying to help them recognize that and get the type of help they need. So it's really working with those people. But again, what it takes is where I'm different is they can approach me because now they look at me as I'm a minister. They look at me as a lot of people because I have my doctors. They call me Dr. Phil, but they look at me that way. But I tell them I am not a therapist. I'm not licensed to do any therapeutic type of work, but I will help them get to the right place. If there's a drug issue, because the number one reason now in Columbia County that the removal happened is because of substance abuse. So we're actually working with them and working with agencies to be able to identify substance abuse in children and adults, and then getting the right resources that they need. But it's not stigmatizing, where we try to work with them to understand. We understand people end up having these issues. And I tell people all the time after my son died, I went to a therapist for a year. I had to go. So it's not anything wrong with going to a therapist. What's wrong is if you need therapeutic help and you don't go seek it. So what we're trying to do is to encourage people is move the stigma off all of those things. Let's pull the covers off. Let's say what are the real issues, and then let's start saying how do we address those issues. Now, again, families and men, I will tell you that most of them, men do not want me to come and tell them how to do things in their house. If I start talking with a man about it and he got macho, he don't want to hear it. But when that family's breaking down and he's about to lose his children, I can sit down and talk with him and say, I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy. And because I'm the good guy, I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to save your home. Work with me. And that's how we kind of move forward with many of those situations.
Thank you.
Two more questions. Two more questions. One of them
Okay.
is, I think a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot, but I think some people like to be in toxic situations. They're
Mm-hmm.
comfortable there. You know what I mean? So they don't feel like it's
Mm-hmm.
anything with them. It's something wrong with you. So I can imagine how
Right.
difficult it would be to try to help kids have some stability and their surroundings are toxic. And it could be because of the parents' choice and who they choose or they select in a mate. So you can't really overstep that. They chose who they chose, but you could see it as clear as
Right.
day.
Right.
Stop choosing this type of person. Or certain situations where people can change over time. But what I've seen is people like, for example, they may want somebody that has a hard edge to them, until that hard edge is turned on them. There's nothing wrong with
Right.
being
Right.
aggressive when you need to be, but not all the time. So
Right.
how difficult is it for you to remove a child from that situation or try to help maybe even a woman or a man they're just addicted to dealing with toxic people.
We see all the time. In many cases, it's kind of chronic that you see people choosing a very toxic mate and they go from one toxic situation to another toxic situation. And again, that goes back to that person's self esteem. And honestly, what I wanted to do with those people is to get them into some type of counseling where they can actually see where they're struggling because who wants It's a woman that be beaten up over and over again. Or are you watching your children getting beat up or abused verbally or physically over and over again? There's an issue there. There's an issue with the person that's doing the abuse, and there's an issue with the person that's allowing the abuse to happen. And so we had to get one of them into therapy. And so what we're trying to do is to be able to direct them into that and encourage them to go. Now, I can't make anyone go and do anything, but I can tell them if you don't get this situation rectified, your child's going to suffer. And here's what I'm seeing happening with your child. I'm seeing your child head on a bad path, and he's going to end up in prison or whatever if we don't get this situation rectified. So that's what we try to do. And I try to deal with the parents' strength. I try to recognize one area that they're very strong in, and I'll compliment them on their strength. But at the same time, I'll say, here's the issue that we need to work with. And we're going to try to help you find the resources to help you. And 80% of them will say, okay, but you still got that 20% that don't want your help. And you just have to just say, okay. It's not a lot you can do until they want to come. Sometimes say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
That's right.
And that's
Exactly.
that's what you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the reason why I said something about that is because it's like we see it all the time. Anytime I see a domestic violence situation, which is every day on
Right.
social media, on the news, the first thing I think is if it's a woman, I'm like, where was their brothers or their big uncles and their cousins that can handle that? If you know what I mean, right? To shut that down. But then I read articles on people that do come and try to help that situation out. And I'm seeing stories of people getting killed by defending someone that's going through that. And a lot of people, again, don't want to get involved because they don't want to shorten their life to save somebody that continues to make bad choices. And I go and I get my people to do whatever. We shut it down. And then next thing tomorrow, I call and I say, hey, you okay? Yeah, we just watching TV. We just watching something on Tubi. You talking about the same person that you were telling me that was trying to kill you yesterday? I done got the troops. I done got everybody out here. I put my life on the line. And now you sitting up here, y'all eating crab legs and shrimp like nothing ever happened. And I'm about to risk my life.
The police tells all the time that domestic violence is the one call they don't like receive because they can go in there and as soon as they try to remove the bad element, the other person can turn around and attack them. So they hate those calls.
Like you said, Mr. Mobley, I know we got just a few moments left. Unfortunately, I think what blessed me is to know that you can lead people and you can try your best, but you can't see it as failing if right then and there the help you've offered they don't take,
Right.
or the help you've offered you don't see the results, or the help you've offered it looked like they're just going back. Because we can even see from this full circle conversation that the help you're putting in is going to yield results. Sometimes you see people come back and do a whole podcast.
Right.
Other times you may not. They may have wronged you in the process, in their healing process, but later on got it together. So I think it's just in the knowing that you do what you can do and you pray and leave it with God to do the rest.
That's right.
Now, that's what I'm getting from what you said over your life journey of helping.
And I think it's at the end of the day, we have to do what God wants us to do, but realize that God is the one that's going to control everything. And so we have to pour into people, pour into love to people. But then some people will receive it and some people won't. But our job is not to worry about that. Our job is to continue to pour into love and then allow God to bless them on the other end. So.
Wow.
Man,
this has been amazing. So thankful, brother. I know you got to close out. Was there something else you want to share?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to thank you. Do you know how many children you've helped over the years?
Oh, I can't. I've lost count.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's how you know you're doing it for real, because
Yeah.
you don't want any credit really for it. You're just very humble in terms of your work and your purpose. And all I know is everybody talks about bad things, generational curses and stuff. You break the curse, and then you pass on the goodness that you've learned to the next generation. So that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I got from you. And that little skinny little boy that you met at Northside should try
Yes,
is gonna
sir.
definitely do his job on this earth until
Awesome.
God takes me, to try to
Okay.
prepare the next generation so they don't go through what I had to go through. So I appreciate you for leading the charge.
Appreciate y'all.
Love you. You know I love you and the rest of the
I know
family.
it.
Mama Tony, Shauna, everybody. Everybody. Phil, you know I love Phil. That was my dog.
Yes, Lord.
That was my
Yes, sir.
brother. I
Yeah.
appreciate you. We need more Papa Mobleys. We need more out here.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing this show to see what we can do to help. I know since COVID, and that was the other question I was going to ask. Since COVID, I know there's a lot of kids that lost their caretakers, their parents and their
Right.
caretakers. So I know the system is probably flooded right now. When I was in foster care, it was a shortage of foster parents back then, and that's why
Yeah.
they put you with some foster parents that weren't the best, because
Right.
it was either that or they were going to put you in the shelter. It seems like it's like that now, but I like the charge that you're leading as far as trying to keep the children, if possible, with their families, to not
Right.
go into foster care, because from my experience, I feel like in some cases, not all foster parents, when that judge dropped the hammer down and said, "You are now the property of the state of Florida," I didn't know
Mhm.
what that meant. They pretty much own you. So that to me is could for a lot of people is like foreshadow to going to jail. That wasn't nothing,
That's
because
right.
we used to
Right.
joke
Yeah.
and say that foster care was like mini prison. But we used to get
Mm.
it around the kids, and they used to be like, "What you in here for?" Oh, my stepdad
Mm.
abused me. "What you in here for?" "Oh, my mama on drugs." "What you in here for?" "Oh, I was molested." We would have those. It would be like a mini prison type setup in
Right.
there as far as the
Right.
mindset and how we were treated. So to have a program that can prevent people from going to foster care if they don't need to, I think is huge. Also, I think they need more programs for people that age out of foster care. So you were
Definitely.
very interested. Yeah, I went and happened to go into the military, got married. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything you did in terms of our marriage. You helped get the
Yeah.
wedding up for us, the cake, the honeymoon. And I remember you telling me, I was like, "Man, you think I'm gonna be okay, pops?" He was like, "Yeah, as long as you with Phil, if you with her and she with you, you're gonna be all right."
Yes,
You know what I
sir.
mean?
That's,
So yeah, so I just want to thank
that's
you for that. I
awesome.
know I said a whole bunch of a lot of stuff, but thank you. How can they reach you, or if they wanted to, people wanted to get involved with any programs? Is there anything that you want to
Yes.
share with people where we can get more involved to kind of?
I think the easiest way to get in contact with me is to call me on my cell, which is 904-759-6553. I'm also on Facebook, so they can
Mhm.
connect with me on Facebook. It's this Phillip Mobley Sr. on Facebook in Lake City, Florida. So if you connect,
Okay.
if you want to join me or follow me, some folks that follow me and other people are inviting their friends, and I accept those as well. So
What programs? Is there any programs that you need any help with out here that can help with kids? I know you're a member of a lot of different organizations, but is there anything specific?
yeah. I think the one that we're building now is really the one that I'm more passionate on. Is the name of this program is called North Star Family Resource Center. And so that's where we are really working. And we named it North Star because of the North Star. And we want to be the light for families to be able to find us. So it has a spiritual aspect as well as a slavery aspect. We overcame certain things and families can overcome. So that's our message, is that you can overcome if you just follow the North Star. So we're here with that light, and we want to be able to continue to help people. As long as God give me breath and sound mind, I will continue to do what we're doing to make that happen. And
That's,
thank you so much. I love y'all both. Love y'all both.
thank you,
Thank you.
Mr.
We
Mobley.
love you too.
Okay.
And if you need us
Okay.
on site to talk, we're here.
We
So
will.
just know that
Okay. We'll make that happen. We're gonna
all
make that
love.
happen within the
Amen.
next year. Okay.
Coming
We'll
to
make it
Lake
happen.
City. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Mobley. Thanks
Uh,
for tuning in to 4624 Healing from Here. See you next time.
okay, great.
All right.
This is my story. What's your story? Turn the camera on you and tell your story. He brought you to it. can bring you through it. He had his hands on my life, and God won't he do it?